everybody. Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. I'm Dr. Mariane Pinkston, and as always, I have a fantastic guest with me today. Going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and how to approach your life with anxiety and, trying to keep the peace in your mind as you go through your life and existence. And I am with Mallory Beckwith, who is up in Austin, a licensed therapist and just an absolute sweetheart. Welcome in, Mallory. Nice to see you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Pinkston. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. We had met recently at a Women's Chamber event, which was kind of interesting, and had a lovely discussion. I thought, this would be a perfect topic for people, especially as we enter a new year. Everybody's got their intentions for changing things and making a new way, and then it's right about this time of year we start to drop that and move away and back into the grind. So tell us about mindfulness and how to reset that button and go with your intentions for the year.
Yeah, definitely. So mindfulness is a wonderful practice that you can integrate into your everyday life. And so there's various types of mindfulness that you can practice. You may have heard of meditation, of course, a wonderful mindfulness practice. There's also breathing exercises and mindful movement as well. So moving your body intentionally. And another practice is tapping into your five senses. So really activating your sense of smell, your sense of taste, your hearing, touch, and feeling. So those are a few different mindfulness practices that are very therapeutic and beneficial. And, I just first want to start off by talking a little bit about meditation. A lot of people think that when you sit down and you meditate, you're supposed to have this clear, peaceful brain and, the thoughts are supposed to flow like a waterfall and everything will just dissipate. But really, that's actually kind of the opposite of meditating. The truth is when you sit down to meditate, you're going to notice a million racing thoughts going off in your mind, right?
Definitely.
And that's that anxiety, So you sit down, you get intentional, and you notice all of your thoughts. And the point is not to shut your thoughts down and to make them totally go away and have this peaceful Buddha brain, but it's actually to notice your thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. And by noticing your thoughts, you're becoming mindful and aware of the things that you're thinking in your mind. And so when you're aware of the thoughts in your mind, you're not 100% attached to them. You're not so attached and enmeshed and ingrained in your thoughts. You create some separation, right? You can observe your thoughts. And as you begin to observe your thoughts and become more mindful, those thoughts will slow down a little bit and they won't be as intense and your anxiety levels will lower. And there's just been scientific research that meditation, which is a mindfulness practice, it's scientifically been proven that it can help lower anxiety levels.
Right.
So this isn't just a woo kind of Eastern, crazy thing.
Right.
It has scientific research that backs it up.
It absolutely does. And what's funny? I know a lot of people think of meditation and modalities like this as very, kind of hokey and, like you say, Eastern. And this is actually something that is extremely helpful I'm 53 now, almost 54, and started this practice last year, going through an intense amount of stress. In the last couple of years, I decided, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And you know what? This was actually insanely helpful. And I think that I started sleeping better, in my quest to kind of lose weight, get in shape, and all these factors. I found that actually started to occur and to happen. I started, focusing on my tasks a little bit better. My memory was better. So, the problem is, though, how do you get started? And that was my problem. I didn't really understand it. There's not a lot of great reading out there on it. And so how does somebody get started doing this and find out more?
Yeah, definitely. So the way I would recommend to start a meditation practice is begin with playing some music, some calming music, right? Like sitting down in like a totally still, silent room, you might go a little bit crazy, right? Just sitting there and you and your thoughts, right?
I know. It's hard. It's very hard.
It's hard to sit there and just, you and your thoughts. Like, today we have technology, we have our phones, we have our computers, we have our Kindles. We are so stimulated by everything going on.
Right.
And to really just take some time to sit there, it can be difficult. But what I would recommend is try to engage your senses so you have something to kind of focus your attention on, like playing some calming or soothing music. And I would definitely recommend playing some music without words. So just like, some white noise or ocean sounds or raindrops or birds chirping, or any type of, lo-fi chill music.
Yeah.
And so you're engaging your sense of hearing. And so you have that to kind of focus on the music, and then you can kind of focus on your thoughts, but also focus on the music. So it's not so intense, just you and your thoughts.
All right.
Another thing that I really like to do is engage your sense of smell. So maybe light like a nice candle or something. Take some essential oils, some lavender. I love lavender. It's my favorite. It has calming benefits and is actually scientifically proven to help lower anxiety levels. So lavender oil can be really good. Just smelling some lavender oil, lighting a nice candle, engaging your sense of smell.
Right.
And then you can also, if you do light a candle, take your focus and just watch the flame flicker.
Right.
So it's just a way to like focus your sight. So really finding ways to engage your senses and to focus on something. So it's not just you and your thoughts, but you also have something else to kind of hold on to.
Right. And it's good to tell the people in your life, listen, leave me alone for a little while. Like with me, I've got 3 kids at the house and I've got a cat that won't even let me go to the bathroom by myself. So, you just have to shut the world out and tell everybody this is my moment. It's a good time to create some boundaries and let everybody know, it's good for your kids to watch you do these things too, because you are teaching them how to settle themselves in life. You're right. We have so many factors, the noise around us and our phones. My phone is never out of my hands. I mean, it's something I'm always paying attention to, and that adrenaline that we turn up as we are, focusing on getting through our day. Every day is like this, even the weekends, we have to steal time away to recharge. And so I usually take about 10 minutes. It's really hard for me to go much longer. I know that they recommend longer. It's really hard for me to do that. As I got practice at it, I was able to go a little bit longer. And sometimes I just lay in bed too. A lot of people will sit, you think of people sitting on their little pillow with a little, little table in front of them or something. Sometimes I'll just lay down and do it too. So everybody can evolve it into whatever is comfortable and relaxing for them, right? Is that good advice, or am I taking it from?
100%. You can definitely meditate while laying down in bed, laying down on the floor, sitting upright. And I love what you said about just really being intentional about shutting the world out for those 5 or 10 minutes. Because if you're not intentional about it, and if you don't stick with it, it's never going to happen, right? You're just going to get distracted.
It's another habit to get into, right? You just have to force yourself.
It's a habit.
Yeah.
And my best recommendation would be to do it in the morning. Every morning, wake up, make yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And then the first thing you do, just meditate for 5 or 10 minutes. Right. And that way you can reset yourself, set a good intention for the day, say your prayers, relax, create that mindfulness practice. And one app that I love using it's called Insight Timer. It's a free app. It's called Insight Timer.
Okay. Nice.
It's a free app, and they have a bunch of like guided meditations.
Okay.
If sitting there still is too scary, have someone guide you through the meditation.
Great.
Also, it has like sounds and like a little like one of those like bowls, like an electronic, and you can ding, and it kind of starts up your meditation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just like a free app, it can be fun to use.
I will include that on the website this weekend when I load that down, and so people can find that, because that sounds like a great idea. There really isn't much information on how to do this. I think some people feel that it's supposed to be a religious activity. If that's what's important to you, that is okay, but it doesn't have to be. And I found it very difficult to do every single morning. So even once a week, I think was important. That really has hit a reset button. I think that made a tremendous difference for me. If you can do it every day, that's even better. They say that all the great thinkers, like, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and all these people who, write and have such great thoughts and share with the world, wake up every day and they do either prayer or meditation of some sort. They read somebody else's inspiring work, and then they write a little bit of their own, and that is how they get their day started. So if the great thinkers can do it, then by golly, we can, I think. And I really think it made a huge difference for me. Is this something that I know you work with people in Texas, so is this something that you can guide people on and work with them and help them with?
Definitely. 100%. I work with a lot of individuals with general anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first things that I always bring up in my sessions to encourage them to start doing some sort of meditation practice. And like you said, even once a week is better than nothing.
Right.
If you can do it once a week, or, whenever you actually feel the anxiety coming on,
sure,
just to be able to sit there. I also lead them through some breathing exercises, which helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system in the body. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful to help the amygdala relax a little bit in the brain, which is the fight or flight response comes from the amygdala in the brain. Right. And so when you actually do some deep breathing and some meditation exercises, it helps to decrease the amount of anxiety in the body and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps the body relax.
Right.
And so if my clients are feeling anxious, we will definitely sit there, do a little 5-minute meditation exercise. I'll guide them through it, and then we'll do some breathing exercises, which will help lower their overall anxiety levels and get us prepared for our session.
So explain parasympathetic and sympathetic responses to people. I'm not sure everybody knows. I'd love for them to understand this. Very important.
Yeah, of course. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system in the body that controls the body's ability to relax. So when your sympathetic nervous system is activated, your amygdala, which is it's a piece of the brain that controls the fight or flight response in the body. When those are activated, the sympathetic nervous system and the amygdala, you're going to have adrenaline coursing through your body. You're going to have a fast heart rate. You're going to be sweating, breathing rapidly. A lot of people with panic disorder will actually have panic attacks when hyperventilating, right?
Right.
And so the goal is to turn those systems off, to decrease the amount of activity in the amygdala, decrease the amount of activity in the sympathetic nervous system, and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calms and soothes the body. Right. So, and there's things that breathing, literally just taking 5 deep breaths will activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Right. Doing yoga is incredible for activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Meditating, that's good for activating it as well. Stretching. So those are all things that we can do in our sessions. I guide my clients through these things to help their body relax and turn off that anxious head, that anxious nervous system. And then I also encourage them to do it in between our sessions as well, to help relax and calm the body whenever they're starting to feel anxious or in that fight or flight mode. When the body literally thinks you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you may just read an email that spikes your anxiety levels and your body thinks you're being attacked by a predator. In reality, you're just reading an email from your boss, right? But the body, the physiological response is the same as it was thousands of years ago when we were being attacked by predators.
Absolutely. It's like kind of our primitive brain. I think even frogs, I tell my patients this all the time, even flies have that fight or flight response. It's a very primitive part of our brain. And being that primitive, it is actually, the path of survival, or the survival trend in us to fight or flight is ingrained in all of us. And it is our initial response to any stressor outside. Very primitive, so it's very difficult to fight because it's so ingrained and so primitive. So that parasympathetic nervous system is one that we have to train to override the sympathetic, because we're just always, even in traffic, on the phone, you're just always on. And you have to train that alternate side of your nervous system to take control and be the one that goes into response mode, whenever you do feel you're in danger somehow. So that's the way I tell my patients, and this is an excellent way of doing that. And I'm glad you teach people how to do that. We're going to come up on a break here in a minute, but I want you to let people know how they can find you.
Of course. So you can find me on my website, www.therapywithmallory.com. And you can read a little bit about my business and my practice and reach out to me via the contact form on my website. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Therapy with Mallory.
You got a lot of good posts. I was looking through that. There's a lot of interesting things. So I hope people will follow you and watch. I think that's great. I need to share some of your stuff, repost it. It'd be wonderful. So, and all of your information will be on my website as well. So if folks want to go to drpbetterlife.com, I have all my guest information, my guest information, where you can find all of the platforms for the YouTube and for the podcasts. I'm also on San Antonio Radio every Sunday at 4 p.m. on AM 930 The Answer. But you can go to drpbetterlife.com, find information on Mallory. I'll have the app on there too, so you can find that as well. I'm going to spend just a minute to go over Pinnacle Clinical Research, they're now Pinnacle Research Texas, who has been very kind to me last year and this year as a sponsor. And the reason I am so fond of Pinnacle is because of their work with fatty liver. In South Texas, as you know, Mallory, we have a lot of liver disease. It's very hidden. It's very difficult to find. People don't really know that they have it. I don't think doctors do a very good job at looking for it. So you can go to pinnacleresearch.com and get scheduled for your free 10-minute, very easy, very painless FibroScan, and take a look and see what is going on in the liver. We are going to take a short break, come back on the other side, talk with Mallory a little bit more about handling your stress and meditation and some of the therapy that she does, and we'll be right back.
Fatty liver is linked to two different situations, alcohol and diabetes, or obesity. In both cases, patients can have no symptoms. In the United States, and in particular, Texas, the most common cause of liver disease in general is non-alcoholic fatty liver. Again, associated with overweight, obesity, and/or diabetes. Additional risk factors include high cholesterol, high blood pressure, Hispanic ethnicity, and postmenopausal status. At Pinnacle Clinical Research, we offer a quick, non-invasive ultrasound-based screening assessment called FibroScan. This test is done at no cost to you, and we do not take insurance. The test will measure the fat and stiffness in your liver and stage your risk and development of fatty liver disease. You will meet with a provider immediately following your scan to go over your results. If you're interested in getting more information on your liver health, please call 210-982-0320 and schedule your FibroScan today. We are conveniently located in the Medical Center at 5109 Medical Drive.
Welcome back. I am Dr. Mariane Pinkston here with Mallory Beckwith up in Austin, who is with me today talking about mindfulness, on how I think we spent the first half talking a lot about anxiety, which I think is very prominent now, especially after COVID and the political turmoil and all. But we also have depression. I think we need to talk about. I know you have some really great resources for things that people can look into to read, help guide them here. Do you have a couple of those for us?
Yes, of course. One of my favorite books is called The Mindful Way Through Depression. And it's really great because it gives you a more in-depth, detailed dive of how you can use mindfulness to treat depression. And it outlines like the various practices that you can use. So if you're interested in learning more, it's a great resource to really dive deeper into it. And, I find that it's called The Mindful Way Through Depression, but really you can use these techniques and skills and education and research to help you with anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD. Mindfulness can really help you with, regardless of like what mental illness you're dealing with, it can really help you. So I love this resource and would love for you guys to check it out.
Good. Then you had another one too, I think, the 10% Happier.
Yes. So the other book that I wanted to recommend is 10% Happier by Dan Harris. And this is a great book to kind of introduce you to mindfulness, and it has a really great story attached to it. And it's like a concrete story and a concrete example how meditation really can improve your life. Mm-hmm. So Dan Harris was a famous reporter, famous news anchor, and he really struggled with anxiety. He had like a drug problem. He traveled overseas to report on the wars overseas. So if you can imagine, that's very high stress, high anxiety inducing situations. And, he was trying to run away from his problems through his drug use. But he found the meditation practice and began implementing it into his life. And, the title of the book is 10% Happier. And he talked about how meditation really did make him about 10% happier in his life. And so this is a really great story. If you're more interested in like a story rather than the actual practices, this is a great introduction way to learn how it helped this man and how it could possibly help you as well.
I think that'd be great. We've had in San Antonio a run of some local media leads here that have been through some alcohol problems and things like that. And I think it really highlights how, we can all look great on camera. We can all look great, out there at the office and in front of people. But when we go home, we really struggle with these things. I know I struggled with eating. So eating was my way of dealing with stress. That's the reason I gained up to like 300 pounds at one point and finally had to find a way to replace those maladaptive behaviors with something different. And that's where, exercise and meditation and things like that helped me to redirect and do something a little bit healthier for myself. It's not an easy thing to do, but it is worth it, absolutely, to change your life that way. And to be a good example for others. People in the media have to be an example, doctors, therapists, people out in the open have to be an example. But inside, I think everybody's struggling, and that's not anything to be ashamed of. So it's great to have some of these resources. I'm glad you highlighted a lot of these things with 2 books and an app, and then your services. I think these are all wonderful things that people can do to try to find some peace. It's difficult these days. It's getting more and more difficult all the time. I find children are more affected now by anxiety and depression than ever before. And I don't think it is a natural, kind of an organic disorder. I think it's something that's been learned through their lives of just, a huge amount of stress. Now, when I was little, we used to play until 10 o'clock at night outside. I was on my bike blocks away from the house. My mom didn't even know where I was, and it was a free, wonderful world. We felt very safe. These days, I don't think this is a very safe place. You're worried about the FedEx man taking you off your front porch. It's, this is something, I just use as an example, not a FedEx man or bad, but I know it's just an example of how we really no longer feel safe in our world. So it was a good way to get started, Mallory. Thank you so much. So give us information one more time about where to find you.
Yes, you can find me on my website, www.therapywithmallory.com.
Very good. And then we're going to have all of that information on our site as well. So you can go to drpbetterlife.com and find our talk today on YouTube and on the podcast platforms, all of them. And just go to the website, drpbetterlife.com. You can also find out information about her practice. I'll have that there. She practices here in the state of Texas, very accessible, and about my practice as well, and as am I. So as we kind of get close to closing down, is there anything else that was on your plate this morning that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm just super happy to be here to have this enlightened conversation with you.
Yeah, awesome.
And, I just wish everyone, all the listeners here, health, peace, wellness. It's a crazy world we live in. So just make sure you put yourself first, because you got to put yourself first and then you can help others.
Absolutely. And thank you for doing that. I think we've handled a couple of good tools over to people this morning, and it's been an absolute pleasure being with you. And so everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful week, and go visit drpbetterlife.com for all this information. And we'll see you again next week.